Carol Shank. I'd like to welcome you to Project Blueberry's third program, which is about creative people in the Wilbraham-Hamden area. Creativity is something that everyone has, but not everyone uses. Many people are bored with their jobs because they are not allowed any creativity in their work. People are at their best when they are creative, but sometimes what people like to do is not what they can get paid for, so they look for outlets at home. Society has become more rigid and impersonal, but people haven't. People are still as imaginative and creative as ever. It doesn't necessarily take special talent or knowledge to be creative, only initiative. The knowledge comes later. Our first segment is about a man whose occupation is to create. Following in his grandfather's footsteps, Mr. Dan Groth of Wilbraham is an inventor. He has created many inventions, including an aquarium cover called the Aquatop.
Mr. Groth, what inspired you to invent the aquarium cover?
Amy, I really don't think it was an inspiration as such. My wife and I had purchased some tropical fish from a pet shop in town in Springfield. Mm-hmm. This was shortly after we were married, and she was a zoology major in college and was interested in these things. I had no particular interest, but I didn't object to it. And I believe I spent about $25 for fish. And the following morning, when I came into the living room, the fish were on the living room rug. Mm. And I thought, well, it would be a good idea if there was a substantial cover on the market to avoid this mishap. And I returned to the pet shop, and they said that they didn't really have a good cover at that particular time. And from that moment on, I started giving it some thought. I made a few sketches. I made a few samples out of balsa wood. And finally, I had a design that I thought was appropriate for what we had in mind, and I went forward and sought patent protection.
How long did it take you from when you first got the idea to when you had it patented and it was on the market?
It was on the market before I actually had a patent. I had a patent pending status. Mm-hmm. I think that from the time I thought of the idea to the time that it actually got on the market, it was about 2.5 years.
Mm. What steps do you have to take to get a patent?
Well, the first procedure would be to contact a patent lawyer in Springfield, and we have a fine outfit right down here on Maple Street, Chet Flavin and Kenwood Ross, and they were very helpful. They will look over your sketch, give you an idea whether they think it's a patentable item or not, and if they do think it's patentable, then you have a preliminary patent search in Washington. And they go through the various records at the patent office in Washington to determine whether there is anything like that that has already been patented. And if so, of course, you can't get one. If there isn't anything, then you go forward with for further procedure for patent protection. And the whole thing takes a couple of years. Or more, depending upon the complexity of the article.
What happens when you finally get a patent?
They send you a piece of paper, really. Mm. They acknowledge that the patent is in the works, and then ultimately you get an actual patent on a printed form from the patent office.
What other things besides the aquarium cover have you worked on?
Well, I had a cleat for tying a boat to a dock, which I thought was a very good idea, and that was not patentable. Or, excuse me, that was patentable, but someone else had patented it. Mm. I've had innumerable things that I've worked on. However, the ones that were successful were these aquarium covers.
Mr. Daniel Groth, a resident of Wilbraham for 9 years, has been an inventor all of his life. His biggest invention thus far has been Aquatop, a plastic aquarium cover. Mr. Groth not only invented the cover, but he also manufactures and distributes them to dealers all over the country. We asked Mr. Groth to show us his invention.
Well, I'll show you first the one that has been very successful, and it's called Aquatop. And we make them in 7 or 8 different sizes for aquariums from 5.5 gallons to 55 gallons.
That's the package that you'd see in a
That's the package that you'd find if you were getting it at a store. This rests onto the front wall of the aquarium and the back wall of the aquarium. And here we have a 45-degree corner cut, and here we have another corner cut. And these are for heaters, filters, and various paraphernalia that go into the tank. Sometime this spring we will have sold the 1,000,000th of this particular item. Now here's one of the, this is one of the larger sizes. This is for a 55-gallon tank, and it's a breeder size tank that this would be used on.
This one's basically the same as that.
It's similar, except it doesn't have the 45-degree corner cuts, and this is more for the professional breeder or a very, very sophisticated hobbyist. A little different from the guppy situation.
Yeah, so that one probably wouldn't be as common in a pet store as the other.
Well, you might not find that in a pet store at all, but you'd find them in breeder places. Here's an item that we received a patent on that is in the prototype stage. It's not on the market yet. But I believe, to the best of my ability, this is the first full hood for an aquarium that has an enclosed light source. I'll have to more or less put this together on a piecemeal basis, but the fluorescent light fixture would fit in here. And this slides into place, and this rests on the aquarium this way. Now, the enclosed source is very important because it stops rust and any contaminants from falling into the aquarium. In the old days, they didn't have this shield, and as a result, rust and other foreign matter would get into the tank and it would kill the fish. They're very sensitive.
Why do you think you can invent over the next guy? Or do you think you can, do you think you have special qualities that enable you to be an inventor?
Well, I don't know whether quality is the word or anything, possessing anything special. I think that sometimes I may see an opportunity where there's an improvement for something or something new that makes something simpler. And I think the basic requisite for anybody that's interested in getting a patent is first you have to recognize that a problem exists in some area, the so-called better mousetrap situation. But I don't think anyone has to be possessed with anything special. I think from an educational standpoint, having an engineering or an electrical background or chemistry or physics or what have you might be definitely advantageous in finally concluding in a patent. But the basic idea is improving something or finding a need for a problem that exists. And I would urge everyone to take a crack at it, really.
Do you think it might be hereditary? Like you said, your grandfather invented stuff.
It may be hereditary to some degree, but I don't think it's of any great importance.
There are many people today who express their creativity through hobbies, but few are willing to use creativity as a basis for livelihood. As an inventor, we think Mr. Groth has.